What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So glad you're here on the Creative Rise podcast. We do this podcast, but because we believe you deserve to break the creative struggle. And we want to give you weekly podcasts and episodes to do just that. Tips, tricks, all the good stuff. And today we have a very special topic that incites a lot of anxiety in so many people. I actually just got off of doing one of these things about 5 minutes before I hopped on this call. And it actually feels great to know what you're going to say on a sales call. So we're talking about sales calls.
Dun, 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 dun.
Nailing sales call intros today. And this was all kind of came up as an idea, not just because I just got off a sales call, but because couple weeks ago, we just finished our 6-week mastermind. And if you don't know what our 6-week mastermind is, it's our signature program that basically goes over the 6 foundational pieces of running a thriving creative business. So if you feel stuck, if you feel like, why isn't my business growing? If you feel isolated in business, this community-oriented mastermind is what a lot of people really need to help shoot their business into the future and start growing their business and making the revenue that they really want. But we've just finished our last 6-week mastermind, round 8, and round 9's coming in January, just FYI for all of you guys who are thinking about it. But we just finished round 8, and one of our members in this last mastermind, his name was Kyler Miles. He's owns a agency called Making It. Making It Happen. It's so cool. The stuff he does is awesome. We'll link his Instagram in the show notes so you can look him up. But he basically came on one of our live coaching calls that we do, and he said, man, I'm just struggling because I'm about to go on a sales call. Like, I think it was the next day. And I just feel kind of nervous. Like, I know a lot of stuff, but I also feel like I'm just a little bit nervous. And he asked if he could run through it with us. And so that kind of started all this good conversation around the sales call. And that's what we want to talk about today is nailing the sales call intro. So we're not giving you the whole thing yet, but we're giving you how to nail the intro because setting the tone of a sales call is one of the most important things that you could do.
Yeah, and sales calls is a massive topic. That's why we're only covering a piece of it today.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, oh, they're not giving me the full pie, what the heck? It's a huge pie. So today's pie will be big enough. You'll leave well fed. I promise you that. But yes, shout out to Kyler Miles, Making It Happen Studios. Great dude. He grew his business really well, and he's continuing to do so. And this exercise we did with him was one of the things that I think has really helped him, and we're going to talk about a little bit of that today. So here's the deal, guys. Sales calls should not be terrifying, and they should work. Your sales calls should work, and they should not be terrifying. Now, the reason why they're terrifying is often because people do not have a plan. When you don't have a plan for a sales call, it should be terrifying. Right?
Yes.
If you don't have a plan for anything, it's probably going to be scary. So the first part of any sales call that you should prep for when you're thinking about having a plan is the intro. If you don't get the intro right, you get everything else wrong, right? I've had like 3 or 4, I think I've had like 3 or 4 sales calls this week alone. I've been on tons of calls this week. And the intro is so crucial because most of the time, at least in my perspective, most of the people that I'm getting on these calls with do not really know me. They've somehow heard about me. They've inquired for my service, but they don't really know me. So it's a first impression, right? Your intro is your first impression. If you mess that up, if you make yourself look self-centered, if you make yourself look like you're not a problem solver, if you make yourself look, quite frankly, not intelligent, or awkward, you might be sending the wrong message to that person. Because of that, it might cost you a conversion. It might cost you some sales. So sales calls, again, should work, and they should not be terrifying if you have a good plan for it. Your plan should always start with an intro. Good?
Yes.
Ready to go?
Great.
Cool. So again, as we talked about Kyler on in our mastermind, he came to one of the last calls and says, hey, man, I just want some support with my sales call. So we said, great, Kyler, why don't we actually role play this thing? So we role played it.
He was like, okay.
Let's do it. I had Kyler pitch us. He quite literally pulled up a pitch deck and pitched me on his service, pretending I was a client in front of our entire mastermind community live. Like, it was so cool. He did such a phenomenal job. And then right before we went to give him feedback, I said, well, Kyler, why don't you pull up that slide deck, send it to me. I will share my screen and I'll pitch you on your same service and you're going to pretend to be a client and we'll see how we did this differently, right? So he crushed it and then I pitched him and he got to see some of the feedback
and
of
Joey
what I
nailed
did differently.
It.
Thank you. What I did differently. So it was a great experience for him and it was a great experience for everybody else in the mastermind, getting to see a sales call role play thing. If you've never done some sales call role play stuff, you probably should. It's really helpful to practice your skills. Now, we want to talk about the intro and why the intro is so important today. Is actually, quick side note.
Yeah.
Why don't we just talk about this now? If you want to see that entire role play, we actually got permission from Kyler. We asked Kyler and said, hey, Kyler, can we share the role play you and I did inside of our Creative Rise Mastermind live call? That's private. It's intimate. No one ever really gets to see these calls. We've never shared these recordings publicly because they're for the mastermind community. However, we said, dude, can we share it? Because it was so fun to see what you learned and how well you did and what you're going to work on next time. And he was like, oh my gosh, dude, if it helps somebody, go for it.
Yeah.
So if you want to see that, we've literally made it free. It's a video you can watch. Go to our website, creativerise.com/sales call. And you can just click on that and you'll be able to go watch that video in full. We show you the full sales call role play, which is only a snippet of the actual live call. I think it's like 30 minutes. So if you want to do something, you want to do one thing this week that's really going to be good for your business, go watch this sales call role play. It's going to show you a lot of don't do this, a lot of do this, both on Kyler and me. There's a lot of stuff that I could have done better because I never even pitched that product before. It was his product. I just did it right off the top. I never practiced any of that stuff, obviously. I still think I did a really good job. And Kyler also did a really good job. And there's also some things that he could work on. So it's just going to give you a lot of context on how you can do sales calls better. So,
and you guys, go and click that and watch it, because how many times have you actually been able to experience another creative during a sales call? Like, you are going to learn so much from this, and you'll be able to learn so much from mistakes. You'll be able to learn all of that good stuff. And so I think that that's really going to help so many of you. So make sure you go to that creativerise.com/sales call. So, okay, we're going to jump into it for how to nail the sales call intro. So we've got a few kind of takeaways from what, once you go and watch the role play, you'll see it. But we got a few takeaways that we feel like really helps you get the sales call off the ground at the very beginning to even start selling from the moment you get on the phone. So point number one, we got 3 points for you today. Point number one is arrive with energy. Okay? Arrive with energy. If you've got nervous energy, channel that into some positive energy. Basically, you guys, this is what you need to know, is that people mirror people. So people will always mirror your energy with theirs. They will always mirror it. You could even literally go up in public today, walk up to somebody and start a conversation and fold your arms. Watch how in about 30 seconds, they will also fold their arms.
It's
you
crazy.
guys, this is the way humans operate. So as soon as you jump on a call, if you're like timid or cold, or you're like showing that you're crazy nervous or whatever, that's going to incite nervousness in them. It's going to make them feel timid or cold. Have you ever gone into maybe like a public place and someone's greeted you and been like, maybe it's like the post office, and you're kind of expecting everyone to be just like timid or like shy or whatever. And you walk in and the person's just like, what's up? Like, how is your day? Oh my gosh, great to see you. You notice in yourself, you also get hyped up all of a sudden. It works the exact same way on the phone, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever you're hosting your sales call in person. Arrive with energy. So basically, from the very get-go, in your own way, approach it with energy. So great to meet you. Thank you so much for hopping on this call. I know there's a million other places you could be right now, so thank you for choosing to do this with me right now. I'm so excited to chat. They will instantly, unless they're super weird, respond with the exact same type of energy, and you'll get the call going off on the right foot.
Yeah, so good. So that is number one. Number two is you want to take control of the call and then also give them a plan for the call. One of the worst things in the world is when you are meeting with somebody. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody where no one's leading the conversation and you're both kind of sitting there and you don't know where it's going? You don't know if it's going to end. Like, maybe you're on a first date with somebody and that's what you're thinking of right now. You're like, oh my gosh, I went on this first date one time and blah, blah, blah. This isn't a real story. I'm just saying this. But imagine you were on a first date with somebody and no one really led the conversation. So it felt like you didn't know if the conversation was about to take off or stop in a matter of seconds. Like, you just had no idea. You never want to give your client that feeling when you're talking to a prospective client, right? On the phone, in person, on Zoom, when you are pitching them, when you're in a sales call, right? You want to lead them. You want to take charge of the call, and you want to go, hey, here's the plan. Let me walk you through this. So a couple reasons why you want to take charge is because if anyone, feels awkward about not knowing where the call is going, they're not going to be really listening to the value you have. If someone's so in their head about how awkward it is, they're not going to be listening to you.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to make sure when you're conducting a sales call, you are taking charge. So you can just go, hey, this is not going to be awkward. I'm going to take charge of this call. I'm going to show you what we're doing. Therefore, they can just relax, sit back in their chair, and they can really listen to the value you're trying to give them, right? Because if they miss the value, you're going to miss the sale. Yeah. Now, the second reason why you want to take charge and give them a plan is because most people sit through sales calls waiting to be sold, and they're nervous about it. They're like, when is this person going to talk about price? When are they going to try and sell me? Are they going to sell me? I want them to sell me, or maybe I don't want them to sell me. They're going to have some kind of preconceived notion about that. And if you don't give them a plan saying, hey, we're going to talk about this, this, and this, then we're going to talk about this, this, and this, and then by the end, I'm going to give you an offer if it's the right fit, and then you can decide if you want to work with us.
Yeah.
Telling them that right off the bat makes them go, oh, okay, I can relax till then. I know that there's a few other things that we're going to be talking about first, and I can open up and have those conversations because I now know he's already told me or she's already told me that there's going to be a sale at the end, and I can now expect that. I don't have to be on edge waiting for it the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So it's so important. So here's an example. If you get on a call and you say, hey, thanks so much, as Christy said at the beginning, you want to arrive with energy. Thanks so much for jumping on. I'm so glad you're here today. Mark, we'll call the client name Mark. Mark, I know there's so many things you could be doing today, so I appreciate you giving me 10, 20 minutes out of your day. Excited to get to know you more and excited to chat. So I know we only have about 10 to 20 minutes, so why don't we jump on in? First off, I'd love to tell you what you can expect from this call. Does that sound good? Wait for the response. Ask them a question, guys, in the first 10, 15 seconds of the sales call. What sucks is when you get on a Zoom call with somebody and they're like, hey, so glad you're on. Okay. And they just start going off.
Yeah.
And you don't talk till like 10 minutes in. It doesn't feel like it's a conversation. It feels more like a presentation. And you always have your guard up when you're not able to be engaged in the convo. So in the first 10, 15 seconds of the sales call, thank them for coming. Thank them for giving them the amount of time they gave you and say, I really want to take advantage of the time we have. So I'm going to, jump on right in. Here's the plan. Can I tell you the plan for the sales call? Does that sound good? They're obviously going to say, yes, that sounds great. But the point is you're trying to engage them in the conversation and make them feel like they're not just supposed to be sitting through, but it's a conversation to be had. So you could say, hey, does that sound good? You're going to wait for the response. They're going to say, yes, of course, Joey, that sounds great. And you could say, great. So first off, I want to know more about you. I want to know more about your business because obviously you're here to talk about your business. Let's say that they are a commercial client and you're a brand photographer. The only reason why we're on this call today, obviously, Mark, is because you have a business and you're trying to grow it, I'm assuming. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about that? You ask a really good question right off the bat and then look like you're prepared to listen. This goes back to the body language. If you ask them a question and then you just kind of like stare at them like you're waiting to say the next thing, doesn't feel great. However, you ask them a question, you're like, hey, by the way, I'm going to take some notes. So if you see me typing, don't worry, I'm really focused. I'm just taking notes on what you're saying.
Yeah.
That is a great thing to say, again, for the intro of a sales call, because it shows somebody that you're intentional about asking the question and getting a good response that you're taking notes on, okay? Then you could say, hey, second, I want to understand your goals for your content. So Mark, you just told me you got a business and you want some more content. Why don't you tell me about your goals for your content and tell me about maybe some of the ways you guys have been interacting with content before. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Why don't you fill me in on that? So again, you're asking them another question. I hope you get what we're saying here. They should be doing a lot of the talking, right? Super important to do that. Then you could say, hey, third, at the end of this call, I'm going to present how I can help you if it's a right fit. So why don't we talk a little bit more about this, this, and this? Does that sound good to you? Ask them if they're ready for a sale. Like say, hey, I'm gonna offer you something at the end of this call. If it's a right fit, does that sound good? Ask their permission for that.
Yeah.
99% of the time, they're going to say, oh yeah, that's great. That's why I'm here on the sales call today. And if you can ask that though, it allows them to drop their shoulders and go, okay, he's asking great questions. He's genuinely concerned about where I'm at in my business and how he can potentially help. And now he's asking my permission to offer him something or offer me something at the end of this call. That feels good. I can rest my shoulders.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, we've already covered this is 40 to 50 seconds of questions you're going to ask in the first couple minutes of the call. Number one, again, was, hey, we've only got 20 minutes, so let's jump on in. First off, I'd love to tell you what you can expect out of this call. What the plan is, does that sound good? It's the first thing you want to say. Then you want to wait for the response, get them to answer that. Then you want to say, hey, second, I want to get to know more about your business. Can you tell me more about your business? They're going to then tell you about the business, and they're going to maybe say, hey, we're looking for some more content stuff. Your next question is going to be, awesome, I love that you want to do more content. Tell me about some of your goals for that, okay? Have you utilized content before? Have you not? Tell me about the good part of it. Tell me about what's not worked so well. I want to know. Tell me about that. Yeah. So you're asking more and more questions. And then you're going to say at the end, hey, I want to get to know more stuff, but just so you know, I'm going to have an offer for you at the end of this call if it's the right fit. Does that sound good to you? Ask them if it's okay, if you have their permission to offer them a sale at the end of the call. They're going to say yes, and it's going to lower everyone's guard. Guys, that stuff is so important.
That's really good. Yeah, I love that, because also notice how many times he said, like, does that sound good? Like, getting them to say yes, even psychologically, when you actually ask for money for the sale, that should not be your first sell, if that makes sense. Your first sell is asking, hey, does that sound good that I can present this to you? Hey, what do you think about this? And getting them to say yes a lot, even just psychologically, is like a little tip that helps people say yes in the future because they've said yes before. So that's awesome. I love coming in with a plan. It also brings down so much anxiety when you have a plan literally even just written out, right? So write out these things, little quick tip there. And then number 3, last but definitely not least, and Joey kind of alluded to this, but say less, ask more. Say less, ask more.
This is for marriage. This is for sales calls. Okay.
Exactly. A lot of overlap there. But so many creatives jump right into the details. They talk about their services. They talk about their packages. It's like the first thing they're jumping into. Or even if they give them a plan, they run through the plan really fast and then they go straight into their services because they're nervous. They want to talk about stuff that they know, right? But the best people, the best salesmen are the ones that always ask great questions. So we want to give you some of our favorite strategic questions that we ask our clients, and this can range across a bunch of different industries, but try to find where your business fits in these questions and modify them to be yours. So feel free to rip these off and use them on your next sales call. But here are some examples of questions that we love. What issues are you?
This is for content. Like this is for like commercial content. We're going to contextualize this to that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was going to generalize a little bit, but okay, I'll hone in on the content side. So what issues are you seeing in your current content? Or you could say, what issues are you currently seeing in your business? If you have something a little more generalized, or if it's about brand or something like that, with Joey does, we talk about brand a lot. So we'll be like, hey, what's like the general feel of how things are going in your business? Like, how does it feel? Ask what do you wish your content was doing for you, or your website, or your logo, or whatever you are selling or service you are providing. Ask, what do you wish that was doing for you? That leads to a great conversation of how you can do something really, really well, or what the outcome they are looking for is. You can also ask, what are some of your revenue goals for this upcoming year? That's always a great thing to know because, again, when it comes down to numbers when you're selling, it's great to know what are the revenue goals they're actually looking at. If they're going to make $100,000 off of this campaign, that means that, if you're selling your campaign for $5,000, that's actually pretty small compared to the return that they're going to get off of that campaign. Another great question is, what is your team struggling with when it comes to creating content or your website or whatever it is? This is our absolute favorite. If you could snap your fingers and your X, whatever it is, content, something like that, was perfect, what would it look like? What would it be doing for you? I feel like they always have what is the most like ideal version of it in their mind, but often they don't talk about it, or often they feel like they don't have the space to talk about it with somebody on a call. So if you can ask the question of basically what's a home run for you? If you could snap your fingers and this was done perfectly, what exactly would that look like? Getting them talking about what their desire is and what they don't want. Another great question is, hey, what have you done in the past around this that you absolutely hated or that didn't work or whatever that is? That's just as valuable as knowing what they really want. So try to get them talking like 70% of the time. Try to only be talking like 30 to 35% of the time. The more they talk, the more they'll sell themselves into it, which is an awesome place to be.
Yeah, so important. So we just gave you guys 3 of many tips that are covered in this sales role play video that we'd love to give you again for free. All you gotta do, go to creativerise.com/sales call, and you'll be able to jump on and get that. So to repeat them again, number 1 is arrive with energy. Number 2 is take charge and then give them a plan for the call. Number 3 is very simple. It's just say less and ask more. How can they do more of the talking? You said this brilliantly. They will sell themselves the more they talk. If you create a good environment for someone to feel safe to talk about the problems they have, and how they potentially need some help, they will end up selling themselves into your offer, right?
Totally.
You will not have to really convince them that hard of anything. So it's a great way to run a sales call well. So these are some intro tips. Guys, there is a lot more to sales calls. And the beauty of the role play video we did, again, totally free to you. We'd love for you to watch it. The reason why we're harping on it so much is because we just think it's awesome. And we want you to go learn it because so many creatives struggle with sales calls. The beauty of the sales call role play little video that we put together for you guys is it goes through an entire sales call twice. Kyler does his whole thing, and then I repitched him on his same offer. The whole thing. So you get to see all the way to the sell. And we had very different ways of selling the final product. And I think you're going to love watching that and learning how you can kind of build some of that stuff into your own sales calls. So really want you to get that. Again, creativerise.com/sales call, and you'll be able to watch that. And yeah, so cool. We love our Creative Rise Mastermind community. Round 8 has just wrapped up, which is crazy. But the conversations inside of the mastermind are so next level, and we're so excited to invite you on into one for the first time ever. We've never actually taken private Creative Rise Mastermind content from the live sales calls just because they're intimate spaces where we just want to respect everyone's privacy. Those are really places where people open up a lot about things. But Kyler, again, was so gracious and said if it helps somebody, absolutely make it public. And it was a lot of fun. So shout out to Kyler Miles from Making It Happen Studios. Dude, great guy, and he's crushing it.
So good. Okay, you guys, thank you for being here. Hope this helps. Again, go grab that sales role play at creativerise.com/sales call and let us know if you have any questions, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys.